Hello, my name is Colton Mayo. I work for a house of brands in the electronic components industry with single location subsidiaries in 5 different states. Most of what we build ends up in aerospace, medical, or defense applications. This means that by law, the components we produce must be manufactured in the U.S. by U.S. citizens. This mandate for critical industries has evolved over the last several decades into a wicked problem for small, midstream manufacturers often located in rural communities with limited labor supplies. The impact of this growing labor shortage will inevitably reach consumers as shortages in labor in these supply chains lead to rising equipment and maintenance costs in numerous critical industries like medical equipment, commercial aviation, energy, and telecommunication infrastructure. My solution for this wicked problem requires manufacturers to address the root cause of their labor woes, the perception of manufacturing from the newest generations of the workforce who view jobs in these sectors as low skill and therefore low reward, with little upward mobility or career opportunities when compared to the ever-growing service industry. Today, I will start by explaining the current landscape when it comes to U.S. manufacturing. Then, I will briefly explain how we got here and why things aren't improving before shifting to the solutions available to U.S. manufacturers and which one I believe is the right choice. Finally, I will give a brief example of what the implementation of my chosen solution will look like based on one of my own organization's subsidiaries. Be prepared to hear the word manufacturing and manufacturer quite a lot. If you're counting, we're already at 8. So what does the current landscape look like? Today, recruitment of new labor is on the minds of manufacturers big and small. In a 2022 survey by the National Association of Manufacturers, 79% of U.S. manufacturers cited the inability to attract and retain a quality workforce as their primary business concern. Manufacturers aren't only failing to recruit new labor, they are losing much of the labor that they have, as much of the existing manufacturing labor in the U.S. is reaching retirement. As of 2023, over 25% of the manufacturing workforce within the U.S. was over the age of 55, so this problem is only going to get worse. It's no secret that manufacturing within the U.S. has declined, and we'll take a look at that shortly. But even after the permanent loss of 100,000 positions due to COVID-19, there were 800,000 manufacturing jobs across the United States unfilled, with almost 90% of manufacturers surveyed reporting unfilled positions. Clearly, there's a surplus of open positions and a lack of interest from potential labor. How did we get to this point? Manufacturing positions in the U.S. peaked in 1979, just shy of 20 million, representing over 25% of the U.S. private sector workforce. For additional context, manufacturing peaked as a percentage of the workforce in the U.S. in 1953 at 35%. Manufacturing would decline nearly every year after 79, but it isn't until the late 90s and turn of the millennium that manufacturing sees a radical drop. 25% of all U.S. manufacturing positions would be eliminated between 2000 and 2012. By 2023, manufacturing positions had been reduced by over 37% from the 79 peak. That represents over 7 million jobs lost. Today, manufacturing represents about 10% of the private sector workforce in the U.S. There are 3 key factors that caused this. The term firm death was coined to refer to the wave of closings of U.S. manufacturers in the late 90s and early 2000s. Offshoring, or the moving of labor positions to cheaper nations like China, is often cited as the primary cause of firm death, but automation through modern machining also caused a huge percentage of smaller U.S. manufacturers to die off as well. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the U.S. has lost over 45,000 businesses in manufacturing to this mix of offshoring and automation by larger firms. My electronic component industry is right on pace with the average of 25% of U.S.-based firms closing in the industry between 2000 and 2022. For added context, food, beverage, and tobacco companies in the U.S. grew by nearly 15,000 firms in the same time period. The last factor is the shift of the U.S. economy to a service-based one, creating an ever-growing set of substitute jobs for unskilled and low-skilled labor. Before addressing the issue plaguing U.S. manufacturers, I want to quickly address what isn't really part of the problem or solution: compensation. U.S. manufacturing wage growth has outpaced the service sector since 2000 by an average of 25%, quite a big margin for entry-level labor positions. And firms continue to raise wages to try and attract talent. In 2022, 93% of surveyed firms increased their wages, 45.5% increased other benefits packages, and 43% offered or began offering signing bonuses. Wages already beat out the competing industries in most entry-level positions. Raising wages even higher would potentially improve applicant and retention numbers, but it isn't realistic. U.S. manufacturing appears to be in a death spiral. The number of firms keeps shrinking, There's other options for the people manufacturers want to recruit, and there's no real career to be had because everyone will eventually be replaced by a robot. Even with higher wages than competing industries, they can't seem to attract applicants, so the jobs must be terrible, right? Not quite. U.S. manufacturing positions are actually quite appealing when compared side by side to service sector positions. Everything from job security, compensation and scheduling, to the physical demands are better in manufacturing for the majority of cases. The issue is none of the rising workforce knows these things. They view manufacturing as a dead-end opportunity, one that may be too physically demanding and one in which they would be undervalued. Most manufacturers have done little to stem this curb appeal issue, especially the smaller ones at greatest risk from a lack of labor. Without outreach or community participation from local manufacturers, schools have continued to choose college preparation over hands-on learning opportunities, whether in school or through vocational training programs. This shift has eroded the traditional local pathways into manufacturing and eliminated local labor pipelines for manufacturers. With the perception of manufacturing being so poor, there are only a handful of directions a small U.S. required manufacturer could go. A firm could work to slowly alter the local community's perception of manufacturing by targeting unemployed and displaced labor in their community. This would bring new people to manufacturing, but risks high training costs, questionable retention, and will have minimal impact on the long-term labor security of the firm. A firm could also simply ignore the curb appeal issue and automate their low-skill labor positions, raising their existing labor to medium and high skill. They would likely not have to worry about the labor shortage for a while, but the expense on a small manufacturer to do something like this is extremely cost prohibitive in most cases, and many low or unskilled labor positions simply cannot be effectively automated. Lastly, there is addressing the perception issue laid out in the previous slide by targeting the rising workforce, reestablishing local vocational and training programs at high schools. This obviously introduces potential labor to the job very early, educates them on what to expect, and how one might make a career out of it. This option is the solution I have chosen for my wicked problem. Establishing or reestablishing a labor pipeline through schools allows manufacturers to recruit higher quality labor, likely improving efficiencies and retention rates through a reasonable investment that garners a long-term positive impact on the manufacturer and the community it operates in. Reestablishing these pipelines is a process smaller manufacturers will have to tailor to suit both their own industry and the community they are part of. I believe the few existing national recruitment programs, such as the National Association of Manufacturers Creators Wanted program, ignores a large number of these small single-location manufacturers, focusing too heavily on the auto industry and endpoint assemblers. These programs offer very little value to single-facility manufacturers operating in rural areas. The tailored solution for smaller manufacturers I have named ISR, based on the 3 sequential goals manufacturers need to establish new labor recruitment pipelines. The first goal, I, stands for inform. Educating the next generation of labor on the benefits of a career in manufacturing and dispelling any incorrect, preconceived notions will be vital. Just as with the Creators Wanted program, the aim should be to not only convince students about to enter the workforce, but also their parents, who likely have misgivings about their children pursuing manufacturing. The relationship with the school will be vital to reach both students and their parents. According to NAHM's Creators Wanted program, parental outlook on careers in manufacturing is vital to improving the number of applicants to manufacturing, so much so that improving the percent of parents that view manufacturing positively is one of their 3 key initiatives. The second goal, Showcase, is about giving students the opportunity to see and experience the type of work done in manufacturing within their own communities. Showcases, either at the school or at a hosted demo event at manufacturing facilities, will give students interested in manufacturing important hands-on time. The last goal, Recruit, is exactly as it sounds, a program that has successfully dispelled some of the outdated notions around manufacturing and given students the opportunity to experience the work will likely have a group of students interested in pursuing internships or other work programs either while still in school or after graduating. In order for a manufacturer to follow the ISR plan and build a vocational program with a school, they must first engage the key stakeholders at the school they wish to target. This means meeting with principals, school boards, career counselors, and CTE or career and technical education coordinators. In attempting to recruit rising adults, it is important to also address concerns that parents may have as well, so meeting with PTA boards should be considered. In order to be successful in engaging these stakeholders, the proposed vocational curriculum must be well thought out. This is where the personnel internal to the manufacturer are vital. Operations must work with HR and possibly a dedicated program coordinator to develop a robust and relevant curriculum for manufacturing in the desired field. Although the curriculum would benefit potential applicants to the manufacturer sponsoring the program, they cannot be so niche that the skills learned are unapplicable elsewhere. In short, there needs to be a relatively broad appeal to the program. In terms of funding, there will be expenses around equipment which may need to be donated. In my own field, a program would focus on technical equipment for the production of electronics like soldering equipment, winding machines, and analyzers. A positive relationship with the school and the community will likely require donations to show that the manufacturer is investing in the community. This may be in the form of direct donations or scholarships. There will also be operational costs, which could include a full-time program coordinator. It would also include marketing materials such as promotional events to attract interest and interact with parents. The equipment mentioned for demos would also carry costs. In order for the ISR plan to work across numerous manufacturing disciplines, the goals have been left somewhat broad. How a firm interacts with a local school will be dependent on the local school boards, the type of manufacturer, and other factors. In order to more clearly depict how ISR might be implemented, I have created an ISR plan timeline specific to one of my organization's standalone manufacturers located in the small town of Dover, Pennsylvania, which is constantly running low on labor. Looking at this timeline, first, in the inform phase, lasting about 3 months, we introduced the partnership to the school administration and faculty at Dover High School through a dedicated program liaison hired through our facility in Dover. They would highlight the electronics industry's growth to gain buy-in from the admins. Building further buy-in, and upon approval of the admins, we would introduce the program concept to the PTA. Afterwards, roles internal to both the school and manufacturer are established based on an agreed-upon curriculum in manufacturing, and the partnership is finalized. In the last phase of Inform, communication channels are launched and awareness classroom sessions at the school are held using the newly developed curriculum. Next, during the showcase phase, about 4 months long, we bring the hands-on experience directly to the students. Some of our engineers and techs give guest lectures explaining how circuit boards and our components come together to create advanced systems. We then participate in small STEM fairs at Dover High, demonstrating testing equipment, prototypes, and assembly methods. Eventually, interested students will get to take guided tours of our facility in Dover, observing production lines, quality checks, and select students can try short job shadow sessions to see day-to-day work firsthand. Finally, in the recruit phase, lasting 5 months, we convert interest into action. We introduce internships and apprenticeships tailored to graduating seniors. We hold on-campus recruitment events, offer resume and interview workshops, and ultimately onboard interns. By the end of the cycle, we should not only have inspired some students, but provided them a direct route into electronics manufacturing roles at our Dover facility, ensuring a steady, well-prepared talent stream for our company and meaningful career paths for Dover High School graduates. Upon completion of a full year, the ISR program would be reviewed and improved for the following year, applying what worked and taking out aspects that did not. To sum up, U.S. manufacturers are facing an increasingly competitive labor market. If organizations want to continue operating in the small communities they often reside in, effort will have to be placed on informing the next generation about the pros of careers in manufacturing, showing that the work can be appealing, and actively recruiting those that respond positively. The ISR solution is low cost when compared to alternative solutions, a key benefit for small manufacturers, but it is important that those who wish to implement it understand that it is not low effort. Recognizing that this solution is a framework which will require tailoring to suit an individual organization's needs is vital to the program's success. ISR provides the opportunity to define rather than redefine careers in manufacturing to new generations of labor. It will require both internal and external collaboration, and crucially, sustained engagement with local high schools to see long-term benefits for the manufacturer, workforce, and community they inhabit. Thank you very much for staying with me for this long. Here are my references and images, and if you're curious, I just said manufacturing roughly 110 times.